Oh god, that was a lot. That was a doozy of a 22 minutes. That was a lot to throw at the audience, and boy, wow. Okay, so this week in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, we're back to no plot, but I'm kind of okay with it, especially if this is what we're gonna get. You don't understand, I just watched this 2 minutes ago. Wow, this was a lot. So, yeah, so let's start off right from the beginning, because what else is there to start off with? So, in this episode, tentatively titled Romin's Cooking, we open with an actual pretty logical thing to happen. And that is, after the events of the team duel we just went through, Rook is understandably pretty annoyed and mad at Romin. Like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. In a lot of these animes, and just regular TV shows in general, characters lie, keep secrets from each other, hold back pertinent information to the situation, and when the other people find out, there's like no consequences for it. Everyone's always just like, whatever, it's fine, you did what you had to do. Where I feel like in most real-world situations, if you tricked or lied to somebody or did something underhanded, even if you could justify it, or you even thought it was being done in what was the best interest for the other person, it would probably affect the relationship and probably change things. And people would have a right to feel angry or betrayed or mad at you, and that's exactly what happened here, and Rook is 100% the person to do it. He's prideful, he's loud, he's in your face. It makes sense that he would then not really want to be around Romin or trust Romin or view her as a friend anymore. All of that actually makes a lot of sense. Would also make sense because he's 11, and because he is everything I just said he is, instead of just like giving her the silent treatment or just avoiding her, it turns into this very loud, almost plea for attention where he's just sort of loudly being like, draw, draw, draw. That was funny because like that is 100% how I could see someone like that behaving. So they of course go to Yugioh to figure out what to do next, and Yugioh comes up with a solution that genuinely left me speechless, because this was 100% the last thing I expected anyone to suggest. I mean, I should have because of the title of this, but you get my point. So Yugioh suggests cook for him, because Rook is very clearly a glutton and obsessed with food, and here's the funny thing, and here's why this might have been my weirdly favorite part of this episode, is that wasn't something being set up for this episode. This wasn't like this big detail being left out there for you to notice. Whenever they did a bit where Rook was eating, it always led to a joke that just stayed self-contained and in the narrative. Him loving food is just the way he is. And like, they built on that and did something with it. I know that might not seem like much to the average audience member, but again, and I keep going back to this, considering what we had to sit through with the last Yu-Gi-Oh! And just also little details of personality like that would either be so hand-fistedly presented for you that something like this would obviously happen one day, or would not be played enough and just come out of nowhere, but no, this 100% made sense and fit. I kind of love that. So then, we split up into two groups. Yugioh has now turned his bicycle and his hentai robot, that's just what I'm going to call it, he has turned it into one and the same. More on that a little bit. But of course, naturally, because it got congratulated by Romin, he flew off and Yugioh went after with him. I felt the animation was a little stiff at points this episode. This is probably a budget saver. The fact that Gakudo's first talking scene, his mouth is specifically obscured by her hair and nothing is moving, is kind of a remembering that they got budgets to work with. So then Yugioh goes after the robot, and I know the robot has a name, but I just keep thinking it of jokingly like Perv Robot or Lolicon Robot. I'll never remember the name. So they go off, and then Romin and Gakudo go to cook curry, which is Rook's favorite food because anime. And I've got to say, splitting everyone up like this and having time to see them interact with other characters is something I really appreciate this. I always praised this in the last two Yu-Gi-Ohs whenever they would do that. But to go right away with it here by like episode 14, I think is a very nice touch. It especially works because with characters with these big personalities, a lot of the fun is just seeing them interact with each other. They knew they didn't need to show us a duel this episode. The duel we got is intentionally made to look bland and personalityless because they know the star of this episode is just the fact that they've made characters fun and interesting enough for you to want to follow them. Also, from this point forward, I think it is extremely important that we introduce the Fate Khalid meter. Now, this is something that I've been feeling for a while we need to introduce, and that is whenever episodes of this show tend to get a little, representing Romin in very interesting ways, we judge things on the Fate Khalid scale. Now, it will not always be on screen, because there's a 50-50 shot I won't even remember the joke by the end of the video, but just in case, this will be here when needed. Now, the two then go into two groups where Gakudo and his friends and even Yugioh are shocked that Romin doesn't know how to cook. Romin is 11! Like, she's 11 years old! Do all 11-year-olds in Japan know how to do more than to heat up a microwavable pizza? Like, what the... I don't know, this always kind of gets to me in anime, like, little children are expected to be, like, super smart and know these things. She's 11! Nothing in this show would ever make me think she's not 11. In no way is she ever represented in a way that makes me think she is meant to be older. She is never presented in a way that makes her feel like she is meant to appeal to certain audiences, and oh my god, we need the fake Khalid meter! So yeah, so then they split up into two groups, and all the bits with Gakudo and Romin are super fucking funny. Like, it's all the standard stuff you expect for this sort of thing. Romin doesn't know how to do anything in the kitchen. Weird they put it in Roa's place. I guess it's for the joke with him at the end. Maybe it's because this is the only other location besides the school we've seen. Or maybe they're trying to set stuff up. Maybe Roa being a spoiled rich kid. We kind of got a bit of that, but that's neither here nor there. So they start cooking. And of course, it's all the stuff you expect. She doesn't know anything about appliances. She doesn't know anything about ingredients. There's a rather long, lingering butt shot. Fake Khalid meter! So yeah, they're cooking and fuck, it's funny. Like, every bit between the two. Like, the joke where she's trying to present herself all waifu-ish so that way they'll go easy on her for being that incompetent. Like, at first it felt like a Fate Khalid meter joke, but by the time you get to the end there where the, like, radishes or whatever the fuck that was turning into roses and she's really laying it on thick, it is legitimately funny. I love Gakudo's explanation of dust explosions. I love his whole attitude in the episode. It's really great, and it really gives him a lot of good, funny moments, because let's be real here, he'll be probably the guy who duels least in this show. So yeah, that whole bit is really great. Then you move on to the other bit, which is Lalikan robots. At first I thought that was going to be plot related. It might end up being important later. 3 other drones show up because they're just like, hey, why is the bike talking? What is going on here? And then the robot transforms into a mech, and it's like playing its own old-fashioned Sentai Kamen Rider theme music. There's no background music. It's just him turning into a droid. It's so fucking funny. And he transforms and he challenges them to a duel. Because it's like, why don't you just throw them or something? And then Yugioh gets to them and it's just like this weird, like, computer AI thing. And it's so strangely surreal after what we sat through before. I can't help but laugh because of just how weird it is. And here's the thing. All we knew about this episode was Romin would be trying to appease Lolicans. We had no clue this was coming. It's brilliant. So then, like, the robot wins and the drones go away and there's this weird bit where he, like, loses his personality for a sec, which makes me wonder if that's going to be important later. That could maybe be a thing. Maybe he's been hacked or something, or it's just a one-off joke. I can't tell anymore. So then Yugioh finds Rook, and they go to the apartment where, as you expect for this sort of joke, the curry looks gross, but of course tastes great. Everyone now thinks Romin can cook, as now if you are a certain kind of fan of Romin, you're thinking, oh, she's the perfect wife. Fake Khalid meter! Fake Khalid meter! And then, of course, naturally, they make up. But what I like is that the way they make up is Rook is still clearly not 100% over this. He probably still doesn't fully 100% trust her. And the sort of impression I get is he's sort of kind of saying in that scene, maybe he'll never really get over it. Maybe they'll never really be the same again. But that's okay. And he understands she's trying, and he respects that she wants to make things a bit better. And of course, she's giving him food. So yeah. Final bit where it floods the apartment and the building was kind of whatever. I kind of didn't need it at that point. Seeing Roa again and a new joke, it was fine. Just sort of a one-off gag. Not really. I don't know. I kind of wish the episode just sort of maybe ended with her adding spices and just leave it up to your imagination. But it was good. I really like this. You know, there's no plot. There's nothing important going on. I needed to have the Fate Khalid meter up way more than I should have had to, but it's just a fun, lovable, full of energy, goofy, ridiculous, insane, fun half hour of television. I'm just kind of like, yeah, I kind of love this for what it is. So yeah, that was this week's episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens to Catch a Predator. It was a lot of fun, and that's kind of all I'm asking for at this point. As for the TCG question of the week, new ban list could officially happen anytime between now and Kingdom Come. And if you're like me, you really don't care if anything actually gets hit, because what's the point if there's no big tournaments anyways? But since every Yu-Gi tuber needs to do this in order to keep themselves afloat, we have to talk about this. If you could have anything hit, what would it be? If you could have anything freed, what would it be? Honestly, I genuinely wouldn't mind if they just did what they did last time and just brought a few things back. Like, bring back 3 fan favorites. Where the fuck is Double Iris Magician? Or hell, want to give something that'll actually put stuff in their place? Bring Max C back to 3. Who cares? There's no competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, that is that. Give me your thoughts about that below. And as always, click the like, click subscribe, and join me next week where Yuga fights a fish.